वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So yesterday we saw that by doing this Drik Drishya Viveka, what is seen and what is a seer, we came to understand the nature of Atma as awareness, because of which different conditions of the mind and the body are known. Okay? Now, it's not that this awareness is something which is small and individual to you. So we said that since this awareness does not take on any attributes, then what the Shruti says, and that is that there is only one awareness. There are many bodies, there are many minds, there are many insentient things, but awareness is only one. Okay? So the seer is only one, the drishya are many. Now the nature of problem that we all have is, we have taken not entire drishya as I, only one particular drishya as I, what your body and your mind, which is equally drishya, which is seen by you either through what indriya pratyaksha or sakshi pratyaksha, which is witness perception or sense perception. What is seen by you, you have taken as the seer, and that is the nature of the problem. Okay? So when you do the discrimination, you figure out that seer is only one, there are not many. The seen are many. After that, what we did is, then what actually you come to is that seer is one and the seen is everything else, the world, right? All the objects. That is not really the vision of Vedanta. So what we then did is, the entire seen world we understood as mithya. Mithya is that which has a dependent existence. Dependent existence means if you look at anything which is seen by you, whether it is the mountain or the table or your body, it is mithya. So we have seen it with reference to the table, that how it is nothing but atoms and particles. But you can do that with reference to any object in the world. Your body is the same story. Okay? We think we have such a connection to this body and we have such a huge sense of identity with this body. But if you really begin to examine the reality of the body, then what is interesting is, the name body itself is made up of what? If I ask you, is the hand the body? No. Legs the body? No. Blood the body? No. Water the body? No. Each of these organs are the body? No. So then I will ask you, okay, let's take out all this which are not body and you show me where the body is. Doesn't even exist. It has a totally dependent reality. Then you come to, okay, then you say, okay, body is only a name of many different parts which are assembled. So that means body becomes nama. Nama means name for that form where many different things are put together. Then you say, okay, so that means the parts are more real than the ultimate things which is assembled, which is the body. So then I say, okay, now let's look at one part which constitutes the body. Let's look at the hand. It's the same story. Is muscle the hand? Nail the hand? Blood the hand? bones, the hand, none. So now, before body was a name, now what? Even hand has only become a name for many different parts which are put together. There are names within names within names which correspond to what? Forms within forms within forms. Where you have such a identity, in fact it has really nothing, nothing in the sense that it really has dependent existence. So clear. Then each part, again, it's the same story. Blood. If you get your blood report from the laboratory, how many different things are there in your blood? What you call the name blood. We are so used to giving reality to the forms. If we just little bit examine, you don't need to change perception of anything. Just examine and you will begin to see the mithyatvam of Jagat.
The function is so important.
Exactly.
Like you can't have a hand.
Absolutely. So
like...
wonderful. Wonderful. There is name, form and a given function. Wonderful. Okay. Nama Rupatmaka Jagataha seems like very real to us because at every level of assemblage you get a different function. True. This is why we give so much reality to it, because of the functions. So therefore, but it doesn't make it real. Still doesn't make it real. So therefore, each of these parts, again, ultimately it is nothing but cells. It is the same story as this. After a while, even though this is so much more complex as an entity than this table, it seems like, how can I compare this mithya with this mithya? But after a point, it comes back to the same thing. Same story of atoms, particles, concept. So therefore, the mithya does not mean that everything is the same. You can't put it all in the same category. Your emotions are mithya, your decisions are mithya, your whole mental capacity is mithya. Can you be indifferent to mithya? Are we asking you to be indifferent to mithya? This is the problem. In Vedanta, the minute I show that it is mithya, that it has a dependent reality, people add the message. Oh, mithya means it's not important. I didn't say that. There is, this is what we call the, it is called epistemology? Epistemology? Ontology. Ontological reality. Ontological means that what is the nature of the reality. So this is where any body, now you look at the sun, you look at the moon, you look at the planet which is far away, and you can include things which are in the past, in the future. The forms will change, but this will remain the same. Jagat is mithya, is valid at all times. The forms can change. The dinosaur's body became extinct. But the body, if you look, is the same thing, different parts. And each part in turn, depending on the other part. Any form which is to come in the future. This is how you can know the truth completely here and now. Because the Jagat is mithya, will always remain mithya, even though there are so many changes which are taking place. Stone Age, life was very different. Now, in this society, even when we were born, we didn't have internet. We didn't even, I remember in Bombay, there was a whole one big day, there was a big celebration because there was coming of the TV when I was 12 years old. And in the whole street where I lived, there were only two people who had TV. And one of them was us. So the whole neighborhood came to our home to watch TV. And this was 40 years ago. And since then, now, every auto driver in Bombay has a mobile, has everything. So that means there is a changing world. World doesn't remain the same. It becomes more complex. When I was in the US, when I first heard, they were talking about, late 80s, they were talking about information highway. And the information highway, the way they were just talking about is that one information which is produced at any part of the globe is going to be available almost instantaneously in the other part. And I said, how is that possible? And then it became a reality. By mid-90s, there was internet and how much. You just Google it. Anything that you want to know, you just type it on Google and everything that you want to have information about, it's all available. World is changing. But the fact still remains the same. That it is mithya. So therefore, if I ask you 100 years from now, what is going to be the nature of the world? Will you be able to tell me? No. Most of the time we watch, Hollywood, they love to do this science fiction. So they do these societies or they're going to some other planet and all kinds of fantasies, right? Surya loves to watch that. But even if all that happens, right? That let's say now, where are you going for a holiday? Now we go to Greece, we go to Turkey, we go here, we go there. Then they said, oh, I'll go to some moon today. That will happen. Which planet are you going to? It may happen. But the fact remains the same, and that is, that planet is also mithya. Nothing but atoms. So therefore, this knowledge is such which doesn't change with time. And there is no improvement of this knowledge. How will you improve that Atma is limitless and Jagat is mithya? What will you do to improve this knowledge? Tell me. So therefore, this is timeless knowledge. Knowledge means it's timeless. About mithya knowledge, there is always revision. So many theories get revised. In the mithya world, for a long time, we believed that earth is flat. Until somebody said what? Earth is a globe. For a long time we thought that the sun is rising in the eastern skies and setting in the western skies. For a long time we thought that until quantum physics came, we didn't have the information that this is all just mostly space and just a few tiniest particles roaming around. We didn't know that. Until Einstein discovered the fact that time and space is relative. We all believed that time and space is absolute and within which objects work. So there is constantly a revision. But this revision that happens, it is with reference to what? Mithya world. You try to understand a given thing in mithya world, you can always increase your understanding because it's complex. even though it is complex and you can begin to discover many things, the fact doesn't change that it is mithya. That remains always true. If you look at the body, the doctors and all, they'll discover many things. New diseases emerge, how to take care of those diseases, new therapies for the existing diseases, all that keep going, there is endless. But the fact remains that the body is what it is. That doesn't change. So this is why this knowledge is something which is not changing over a period of time. So now the whole Jagat is mithya. Then what does it depend upon? When we say dependent reality, what does it depend upon? If you use the science approach where the whole the method of science is what? Perception and perception-based inference, which is observing a data and then based on that observation making highly complex inferences and deductions. Very complex, they are not simplistic. But as we saw in this verse, there is only one thing in this universe which is not available as an object but as self-revealing presence. That's the only thing which is left out. And we are so used to knowing through objectifying that if we can't objectify something, then we think it doesn't exist. And even when I talk about Atma, somehow you want to objectify it. We can't give up this orientation of objectification. As long as you remain within that orientation, you will not get Atma because you are not understanding what Shastra is saying. Shastra says very clearly that it is one thing which is not the seen, it is the seer, which can never become seen. And you said, oh, I still want to experience Atma. You haven't got anything. Your mind is creating realities which don't exist. Your mind hasn't reached what Shastra is talking about. Experience is what? Objectifying something which was not there. Right now the experience is not there. Then the experience begins, and every experience is within time and space. You must know this. And it disappears, it goes. By wanting to experience Atma, you are making it as an object. So therefore, there is only one subject because of which every experience takes place. Then people ask another crazy question. Oh, Atma is not a matter of experience. So I will never experience Atma? Atma, without Atma, there is no experience possible. This is what you have to understand. It is always there, behind every experience. I just showed you that the thought comes, awareness is because of which that thought is known. How are you saying that Atma is not experienced? You haven't understood. Your mind is creating pictures which miss the essential. Vedanta shows that there is no thought which can be known without awareness. There is no object which can be known without awareness. Without awareness, there is no experience. So that means that it is always, it's behind every experience. You don't need a special experience to know Atma. That is what we mean. Pratibodha viditam matam. In every thought there is an invariable presence, which is Atma. When I asked yesterday, what is the content of the thought? He said very clearly, and it's true, this is the truth. The content of the thought is awareness. Every thought cannot exist without awareness. That's the content. Like this box, the content is the wood. In every experience, there is one invariable awareness. The experiences change, the awareness remains what? Invariable. And that is you. So that means your mind has to reach what the intention of the whole Shruti is. Neither it is a one specific experience, nor it is something that is not experienced. It is always with you. Atma is always with you, you don't have to produce it. The only thing which keeps you away from your Atma is your veil of ignorance. So, this is what we saw. Okay? Now, there is one thing that Surya pointed out. When I said this is a real meaning Satya Mithya, but here in this verse, there is this expression used, and that is something which is with reference to what I say, and that is Bhati Swayam Vibhati, okay, Anyani Bhasayet. So there is something which is, if you want to use the word, which is self-revealing or self-shining. Bhati actually means shining, but self-revealing. And everything else is what? Shining after. There is, if you want to see any object, you need the light.
Number 5. The second part of the verse.
If it is totally dark and if there is an object, I will not be able to see. So that object is what shines after. And it shines after what? What does it require for it to reveal to you? Light. Good, thank God. They don't say Atma. I'm happy. Right? You need light to reveal the object. So in this relationship, the object becomes what? That which shines after, and Atma, the light becomes what? Bhati. Bhati means it shines. Now, the sun itself, if you close your eyes, do you see the presence of the sun? Even if the sun is shining and the object is very much there, but if your eyes are closed, will you be able to see the object? The sun has its own place because you have eyes. So therefore, sun also shines after what? In order for you to see the sun shining, you need eyes. then eyes become what? Bhati, shining, self-shining, and sun depends upon the eyes for you, for its shining. If somebody else is opening the eyes, that person can see the sun, obviously. Right? Then, the eyes themselves cannot reveal themselves if there is no mind behind it. So therefore, now the eyes are shining after, and what is the shining? The mind. Now, the mind also is what? Shining after, and because of what? One thing, which is awareness. Awareness is shining because of what? It is self-shining. It is self-revealing presence. Everything else is what? And something which is revealed. The self-revealing reality is awareness. So this is why we say it is self-evident and it is self-existent. Self-existent because it does not depend upon something else for its existence. While the whole universe depends upon Atma for its existence, Atma doesn't depend upon the world for its existence. Self-existent. If it is self-existent, how will I know it? Because it is self-revealing. So this is why this I am is something which is self-revealing. Not the active thought I am. Even when you don't have active thought I am is still there. So that is what is called the awareness. So now,
Neema, when you say it's self-revealing,
yes,
you mean it reveals itself to itself, or to
Yes.
the
yes,
the
itself to itself, because you don't need you don't need the senses, and you don't need the mind, you don't need the sun, you don't need anything to know I. That's why it is self-revealing. The object needs the sun and the eyes and the mind behind it, but Atma is the only thing which doesn't need any of that, and still you know I am. That's why it is self-revealing.
Does that mean is that the same thing as it's self-experiencing?
It is, see, experiences, that's a good question. See, when it is behind every experience, or it is because of which all the experiences take place. So in every experience there is Atma. There is no experience which excludes Atma. That is.
In the meditation this morning, I said everything is happening and occurring or is being experienced, coming and going. And one thing is ever experience. In fact, instead of saying self-experience, you can say ever experience. Doesn't come and go.
Yes.
I'm again with this Sakshi Pratyaksha.
Yeah.
So, is it right you don't need the senses to know Atma? And is it right you don't need Sakshi to know Atma?
Okay, that is true. That is true, but it's not totally true. I'll tell you why. It's true. I mean, it's true. What is important for you to know is this awareness does not depend upon anything, right? But the ignorance is for whom? Is for awareness? No. Ignorance doesn't exist for awareness. Ignorance exists for whom? A jiva. So now, a jiva, if it were to know its true nature, it requires what, as I told yesterday, a specific body which has that capacity to reason and figure out. So that means right now, even though I'm showing you awareness is something which is free from all the thoughts, but the knowledge you're receiving where? In your mind. So you need the mind, you need both Indriya Pratyaksha and Sakshi Pratyaksha to understand the nature of Atma. But Atma in itself doesn't depend upon any one of them. But that relationship you can figure out in a human body. In other bodies, you are not given the chance to know this fact. That's why human body is considered to be a privileged birth.
I have another question.
Yes.
So, you said about knowledge.
Yes.
You need knowledge for the Jagat, and that's always changing knowledge. So, is it right? It's a difference, the Mithya knowledge and the Satya knowledge.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes. In Mithya, you can't know everything totally because there is no categorical thing. You can't find an end of anything in Mithya. Because the end of Mithya is in Satya. And the method through which we know things is through object. So if you're trying to find the knowledge through your senses, there is no finality and is always subject to revision. So the answer to totally understand Mithya is only through Satya. And that is a non-changing knowledge. That relationship, even though how much the world changes, the relationship between Satyam and Mithya remains the same. That's why this knowledge is not revised. But any given thing in Mithya that you want to understand, as you very rightly said, is subject to revision. Very good. So now so everything shines after everything is experienced because there is one invariable presence, that is Atma. Okay. Now the what is the biggest even though we have many different places of errors, there is one place where there is almost kind of a centralized error, the centralized point of error, right? Because when the body, there is this, as I told you, that the mind has 4 modes of thinking. The first is what? Emotions. Next is your cognitive capacity, your memory, and then your eye sense. This eye sense in Sanskrit is called ahankara. So we will read the next verse and I will explain. Chaya ahankara yoho aikyam taptayaha pindavat matam tat ahankarat tadapnyam deha chetana agamat. So now, what is the idea behind this verse is that if something happens to this body, not only every thought gets centralized in your ahankara. So if there is a thought of an emotion, then you say, I am happy. Or if there is something that you understand, you say, I understand, I am intelligent. Then memory, I did this when I was young. So everything, every other function of the thought, they all seem to get centralized at one place, which is what? It gets connected to this eye sense. This eye sense is also part of the brain. Okay? And not only that, but also the different conditions of the body also get connected to eye sense. I am sick, I am old. And the conditions of the senses are also getting connected to this eye sense. I am now getting blind. I can't hear well. So that means this entity, ahankara, even though it is constantly changing, it seems like a very fixed entity. not only different thoughts of the mind get attributed to I sense, but the different changing conditions of the body and senses also get attributed to I sense. That's why your I sense is a very deeply entrenched personality. Because the whole activity almost gets centralized. It's almost like a central processing unit where everything gathers and gets imputed onto I.
It's also the things we own. No?
Yeah,
My car,
then
somebody bumped my
comes
car.
exactly the sense of ownership. I own the house.
You bumped me. No? This is
Absolutely. This is where comes, as Surya was saying, sense of doership and enjoyership. Your I sense. Basically, the thing is, I want to enjoy life, and whatever your definition of enjoyment is. You want to be a yoga teacher, somebody wants to be a sports person, somebody wants to be a business person, whatever. And that also keeps changing over your lifetime. Something which seemed so important to you as a teenager is no longer important. So I was telling that there is I don't want to talk about Kathopanishad, but in that context, I told somebody that, when, especially in India, when Western society is different, but the teenagers, they always want to go out and have fun and this and that. And parents are always saying, no, you can't go after 12, you can't go after 1, so there are always restrictions, and teenagers feel very restricted. Now those teenagers are themselves 45 years old, they have all the freedom, they can do what they want, and they never go to clubs. Because their preferences have changed. So what you like keeps changing. It doesn't remain constant. So therefore, this whole changing preferences and changing everything is what all getting the doership, the enjoyership. I want to enjoy. The definition of enjoyment keeps changing. As a teenager, what I enjoy is very different to what I enjoy as a child. So, another class of mine, so I said, as a child, what do you enjoy? So they said toys. Then I said, as a teenager, what do you enjoy? So there was this woman and she says, boys. So I said, from toys to boys, there is a natural graduation. Did you make some huge effort and say, now I am not wanting this, I want vairagya towards the toys? You didn't do anything, it just changed.
Only one letter changed.
So therefore, you have the bhokta in you, there is nothing fixed about it. Keeps changing. And depending upon what you feel like enjoying, you keep engaging in what corresponding activities. Karta and bhokta. The whole thing gets imputed to I sense. Not just the thoughts. Kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. Big. That's whole expression of yourself in this world. The conditions of your body, conditions of your mind, conditions of your senses, your sense of ownership, your sense of doership, your sense of enjoyership, everything constitutes ahankara, I sense. Because everything gets imputed to I. And all that happens in the mind, and that's why it's changing. So now, this ahankara and awareness, what is the relationship? So here it says, the relationship between ahankara and awareness, they use imageries to make you understand a few things. But in every imagery, there is a limitation also. So you have to figure out what it tries to convey and what doesn't totally correspond to the reality. You have to be able to figure out. This is one thing that I feel that our teacher Swamiji taught us. Everybody else just uses the example and as though it totally represents the reality. He says there is no example which is within mithya can totally correspond to the reality. So in every example you need to figure out what is it wants to convey and what it is which is not corresponding to reality. Then you are clear. Otherwise people use examples loosely. Right? So an example is used to say that the example is the iron ball and a fire. He says that if there is an iron ball and then there is a fire which is there, which is heating it. When you first touch the iron ball, you will attribute what? Huh?
Cold and heavy.
No. When it's heated by the fire.
And you said first, before heating. If it's heated, hot.
Hot. You don't even know there are two things. You think that there is only one. You see it what? As iron, and you think that it is hot. But in reality, how many things are there? As Yuta says, what? Iron's nature is cold. You don't see the fire because it is heated, right? But there is a presence of fire which you don't see. But the presence of fire is known through what? The heat. Even if you don't physically see the fire, the presence of fire is known through the heat. Then you figure out, because if you don't examine properly, it seems as though there is only one thing which is iron ball, and that it is the nature of iron ball is hot. If you don't discriminate.
Red hot iron
Red
ball.
hot iron ball. That's what you see. Red hot iron ball. You think redness belongs to iron, heat belongs to iron. The shape is of course belonging to the iron. Then some wise person tells you, where you see only one thing, there are actually two things. There is fire and there is iron ball. The heat and light belongs to what? Fire. And the shape belongs to where? The iron. Yes? But the visual perception is what? There is only one. So this is how, when you see, now if I tell you that okay, in this object that you are seeing, there is fire and there is iron. So you said, okay, now take out the fire here. But what has taken the shape or the color of the fire? Iron has assumed what? The shape of the color of the fire. So now you don't need to, without removing, please understand, without separating both, You keeping the visual exactly the same as before, you can discriminate. This is called discrimination. You can discriminate and you can say that actually there are two things here where I see one. The iron is cold and black. The fire is red and hot. You don't see two objects, you see what? Only one. Then you can say that this shape belongs to the iron, which is a ball. The property cold belongs to the iron. The heat belongs to the fire. And the brightness, redness belongs to the fire. Keeping the same perception. How? How can you figure out? You touch another iron. This is how. And it's not hot. And you see another iron, which is what? Not red. Then you need to reconcile. This is what we call mind and deductions. Then you see fire. Then what? Fire has light. And fire has heat. So here, even though the appearance is one, you can distinguish what is what. What has happened when you don't discriminate is that the fire seems to take on the attributes of what? Round. And the iron takes on the attribute of what? The heat and light. There is a anyonyaya adhyasa. Both are, one's attributes are superimposed on the other and others' attributes are superimposed on the other. Both superimpositions are done. So, in the case of ahankara and awareness, what are the whatever is going on in the I sense, I am happy, is attributed to what? Awareness. Whatever that thought is that is going on, it's attributed to awareness. And the awareness without which this ahankara cannot exist. The awareness, the nature of awareness is attributed to ahankara. Both mistakes are done. Two-way mistakes.
So it's the limitation of that metaphor that fire isn't self-revealing and illuminating.
Excellent. The limitation of this metaphor is wonderful. In this case, there are two objects, fire and iron, enjoying the same order of reality. In the case of the absolute, what we want to show, the relationship is that of Satyam and Mithya. And here both are objects and both can be objectified. Here one is the subject which cannot be objectified and the other is an object. But between the subject and object there is no same order of reality, there is Satya-Mithya relationship. This is the limitation of the metaphor. Wonderful. For every metaphor you have to figure this out. Because if you don't figure it out, you create pictures in your mind which are not accurate. Our Swamiji was the only one I have seen when he used metaphor at every time he showed where it applies and where it doesn't apply.
Because you said it's a mutual superimposition.
Yes.
And I didn't, I'm not sure whether I get the second part, that awareness is superimposed on the eye sense.
Yeah, because see, it's true. I'll tell you why. Because here they use, this is a methodology which it says that actually this ahankara is what made up of, it's part of the subtle body. So the subtle body itself is nothing but 5 elements. The 5 elements, they don't have life. So the life giving is possible through subtle body, but because of presence of awareness. So therefore, but you think that the awareness belongs to that I thought, that consciousness, the awareness. When we use the word awareness, what makes it alive is because of the presence of awareness. So that means awareness, which is actually limitless, you start seeing it as only something which is confined to your I thought. This is why people are constantly, when Vedanta says that you are awareness, they want to separate the two. Because that the attributes, the possibility of that thought, to think what it is because of awareness. So that the awareness, that you think that the I am aware means what? Where is that awareness? What are you attributing to awareness? Whatever is going on in your mind. So both superimpositions are going on. Awareness becomes small and body becomes what? As good as awareness. Body's attributes are put on awareness and awareness becomes small. Superimposition. Now, without separating, imagine, tell me one thing now. If you try to now said, okay, now I want to separate this awareness. This is the problem that most of the people have. Because there are two. In the case of the metaphor, you can what? See fire as fire and iron ball as iron ball separately. And then you can understand there is a coming together of two. In this case, awareness is not available at any given point in time for you to objectify. You say, okay, now from this ahankara and awareness, I want to separate the two. Will you be able to do that? Will you?
Ahankara is not existing without awareness.
Excellent, excellent. Ahankara cannot exist without awareness. The very existence of ahankara requires awareness. How will you separate? Wanting to separate means you want to make awareness at one point in space, ahankara, the thought, at other point in space, right? And there is a distance which is what? Defined by the space. You make awareness into just one of the miserable objects by wanting to separate the two. In that want, you have to see so clearly that what am I trying to do? I'm making that awareness as an object. And I'm making the thought as something which is independently existing from awareness. Lovely you go. You don't understand. We don't understand what we are trying to do. Wonderful. There is no ahankara without the presence of awareness. How will you then know that awareness is independent of ahankara if you can't see it physically without it? Cognitively. Only through this method that ahankara at one point I say I'm happy. Next time it says I'm sad. Happiness and sadness are incidental. What is invariable is awareness. Nothing sticks to awareness. Cognitive. You have to have sharp cognitive abilities to follow the reason that the Shruti is trying to show you. Your mind has to go along with it and see the truth.
While remaining in the limitation.
Exactly. Wonderful. People are always trying to get out of this seeming limitation. You will never get Vedanta. You are on a trip wanting to some expansion. So therefore, in this, where will you find awareness? In your ahankara. But how will you then understand that it is independent of this ahankara? Because ahankara is changing. What I sense, how I feel about myself, what I think about myself keeps changing. There is nothing constant about it. Every vritti has a content which is awareness, and it has nama rupa. Nama rupa doesn't do anything to the content, doesn't stick to the content. Analysis, cognitive understanding. It's not only true for that, it's true for everything. So therefore, while seeing only one, which is ahankara, you can figure out there are two. In that I thought, don't search for awareness somewhere else. In that I thought, the content is awareness. Every thought that you have, there is a presence of awareness. The thought changes, awareness is invariable. But because of this as though association, it seems like what? That awareness is the thoughts. Awareness becomes thoughts, and the thoughts become awareness. So this is what this verse is saying. So therefore, through discrimination in ahankara itself, you can see the presence of awareness. Don't look somewhere else. And this is why, as Christina said yesterday, if you think by knowledge your eye sense is going to go, is your eye sense going to go? It's part of the brain design. It will never go. Correct. What you said is absolutely right. The only thing the wise person understands is that this is mithya. And wherever there is mithya, exactly there is satyam. Don't look for satyam somewhere else. Mithya is what name and form and function, as she very rightly said. And the satyam is the content of that mithya. So this is how the person does the discrimination. Without changing anything, you know the truth. Just by.
How do you know that your thoughts are not misleading you? You have an awareness in your thoughts.
Yes. See, as I told you, that there is a rose thought, which is replaced by, let's say, the next minute I think of a tree. If my awareness was really taking, the thought was the reality, then if it was the reality, then that rose thought will stick to me. The very fact that the rose goes totally and then it is replaced by tree, then tree also goes totally and it is replaced by something else, I understand that awareness intrinsically could not have taken these attributes. Logic. Because if the thought was the reality, then thought will always remain and it will stick. If awareness is something which is independent, I can get rid of this and I can think of something totally different. The very fact that this I can totally displace means in awareness this thing, the object doesn't stick. So therefore, this is the discrimination. Now, in the next verse, they talk about, see this author is quite interesting. He has creative ways of explaining things which are not mentioned in the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita, but that is something that you must understand, and then I will talk about it. Okay? But before I go there, I just want to explain. I think yesterday somebody asked about something which is seeming alive and something which is not seeming alive. Okay, so I did talk about it, but it was night, so I will talk about it now. And that is that when we do this discrimination about what is I and what is not I, when we look at this individuality itself is divided in three. One is called Sthula Sharira, the other one is called Sukshma Sharira, and the third is called the Karana Sharira. What is Sthula Sharira? The individuality that we all feel, and that is the physical body. The individuality is what? This physical body. So the physical body, the attributes of physical body are what? Here it is ahankara, because the point where it all gets assembled is in your ahankara. But the physical body is, according to the Vedic model, it is made up of 5 elements. If you take the modern physics model, you can say it's atoms and particles. But if you look at the Vedic model, it talks about this body is permutation and combination of Pancha Mahabhuta. Pancha Mahabhuta is 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. Akasha is space, Vayu is air, Agni is fire, then Apaha is water and Prithvi is the earth. So, in fact, you can see it, 80% or 60% of your weight is water. The 2 organs are separated by space. The external air that you breathe in becomes what? Prana, so air. Right? And Akasha, Vayu, Agni, fire. Where do you see fire in this body? Your body temperature. Then your digestive system. It's all digestive fire. Fire and then earth. All the skin and everything is what? Carbon, earth. So this is how your physical body, it is 5 elements. Then your subtle body is also nothing but 5 elements. Same 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhuta. But one are grossified and the others are subtle. So what is this subtle body? What does it mean? It's not one of these new age definitions of aura and energies and all. It's a very simple definition. The definition of subtle body is that which accounts for what? Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Gnanendriya, Pancha Prana and what? Mind. This is what is called subtle body. Yes. Pancha Karmendriya is 5 organs of action. So, Yuko, there is one thing which is your physical hand, which is physical, sthula, right? But by looking at this hand, you don't know whether the hand is going to move or not. The capacity of the hand to move is what? Subtle. If you see a body, if a person is totally paralyzed, the physical body is exactly the same as somebody else's body. What is the difference? That the person is not able to move. So this is what we call the hand is physical, the capacity of hand to move is subtle. Because by just looking at the hand, you don't know whether it is going to move or not. Somebody else's hand. That's why it's called subtle. Because with your eyes, you don't know. You can't see it. So 5 organs of actions are what? Hands, legs. Legs also. There is one physical leg. The other one is what? Capacity of the legs to see. To move. Right? Then hands, legs, what else?
Speech.
Speech. Organ of action. Wonderful. Okay? So if your voice is coming or not, all this is subtle. By looking at your mouth, I don't know. Then there is, what else? What are the organs of action?
Excretion.
Excretion and procreation. These are all the organs of action. This is subtle. Their functions are subtle. The organs are sthula, but the functions are subtle. The excretion and procreation. Organs of action.
Excretion is everything that goes out, and procreation
Is producing, reproductive facility, capacity. Then you have Pancha Gnanendriya. What are the Gnanendriyas? Senses. There is one thing which is your physical eye, the other thing is what? The capacity of your eyes to see. So what are the Pancha Gnanendriyas? Your eyes, ears, then your nose,
skin.
smell and touch. 5 sense organs. Again, you can see, I can see your physical ear, but I don't know how much it hears. That's why it's subtle. So, Pancha Gnanendriya. Then it also includes Pancha Prana. What are Pancha Prana? Inhaling, exhaling, then circulation, digestion,
Excretion.
and excretion. Comes in both. Some people take the last breath as prana. It's actually the prana which leaves the body. Then the body is declared dead. Otherwise, excretion also people take. But excretion then comes in both karmendriya and so this is why this is constituting subtle body. Pancha prana, pancha gnanendriya, pancha karmendriya and 1 mind. Mind is also subtle because by looking at you, I have no idea what your thoughts are. I can infer by your facial expressions, but I don't have total access, direct access to your thoughts. So therefore, this is also subtle. This is pancha, this is subtle body. The third thing is, which is also made up of 5 elements: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. Then you have something called Karana Sharira. What is Karana Sharira? In this world, when I come, and if I have not figured out who I am, I take myself to be this individual. This I sense becomes what my identity. In that I sense, as Surya is saying, that there is also what doership and enjoyership. So I decide this is what I would like to have, and then I do actions. The minute I do actions, and according to me, I am an individual, I have, as I explained last time, seen result and unseen result. Drishta phalam and adrishta phalam. Every action that I perform will give me 2 types of result. One is an immediate feedback from the universe, which gives me insight about nature of my action, and the second is something which is carried forward. So what is carried forward is what is, you can't exhaust everything in this lifetime. So there is an account, and that account of the unseen result of a good action is called punya, and unseen result of an inappropriate action is called papa. So your causal body is what? Nothing but your whole account of punya and papa. The unseen result. Now if for the unseen result you have to begin to get what? The unseen result means what? If you've done something inappropriate, it will bring you what? Some discomfort, some challenge, some obstacle. This is a result of what? An inappropriate action. An unseen result for a good action is what? You find at times people are looking after you, showing their love to you, caring for you. This is all a result of punya. Or you have wealth, or you have skills, you have talents. All these different things are result of punya. This is why we don't call wealthy people materialistic, because it's a result of punya. It's not easy to be born in a world where you have wealth. We don't have a profit. So this is where it's all, your punya can manifest in so many different ways, which makes life comfortable for you in some ways. So that means you keep on, that there is an account and you keep on taking birth. How will you experience the discomfort or pleasant things? You can't do it without the body. So because of the causal body, it will give rise to what? Once this body has experienced one's karma, what will you do? It will take on another body to go through punya and papa. The experiences which are going to be pleasant and experiences which are going to be challenging. Each one has to go through one's fair share of pleasures and challenges. We love to divide the world as privileged and unprivileged. There is no such thing. Every human being who you think is highly privileged, begin to ask them about their lives. And if they are honest with you, they will tell you enough sad stories about their life. Enough. And also enough happy events. The degrees could be different, but the fact is everybody has one's own fair share of happiness and challenges. Human birth is what? Punya Papa Mishra. Mishra means it's a mixture of both. And that's why sometimes challenges are not bad, because challenges what make you go ahead. Ask for ask for answers, which otherwise you would not have done. So therefore, this causal body keeps on giving birth to what? The physical and subtle body. Now, all this is possible. The 5 elements are possible. How is it that the 5 elements have the capacity to what? Think and all? Not possible without the presence of awareness. You try to combine water and what? Air and and then try to make it think. You will not be able to do it, no matter how much you try.
But maybe in 100 years.
In 100 years, maybe it is possible, exactly. So then, the thing is, the fact is that those 5 elements are very intelligently put together. But they are intelligently put together, but where is the source through which they can do the things that they can do? That is awareness. Without awareness, that even if you make that combination, to that combination, sentiency won't come. It is a little bit like what Lutz was saying yesterday, that electricity is everywhere. When you have a given point, right, then it can show the light. But without the electricity, this light will not be possible. It is that relationship. But electricity is present everywhere, but it doesn't give the light everywhere, because you need that particular connection. So awareness is everywhere. The subtle body is able to be sentient because of the presence of awareness. Without the presence of awareness, the subtle body cannot gain sentiency. But awareness is free from whatever that the mind is, whatever the senses are, whatever the characteristics of the subtle body are. So this is where the sentiency, please understand, is attributed to subtle body. Why are certain objects which are inert in this universe? They are not able to talk, they are not able to feel, they are not able to have their respiratory system, they are not alive. Because they don't have subtle body. But the subtle body itself is nothing but 5 elements. It is capable of what? Bringing life because of the presence of awareness. If there was no awareness, it would not be what? Alive. So this is where ahankara is. What is the place where the ahankara is? At the subtle body. The I sense exists in your subtle body. That's why everybody has different I sense. Somebody has inferiority complex, somebody has superiority complex, somebody always feels like a victim, somebody feels I'm the king, I can do everything, the whole universe will behave according to my wishes, all kinds of things, all I sense. Very different. None of these I senses, which are all resting in subtle body, are possible without awareness. So therefore, the intervening factor is what? Ahankara requires subtle body. And we think that the sentiency belongs to subtle body, but the sentiency is ultimately borrowed from awareness. Without awareness, there is no possibility of sentiency. So, this is,
Yeah, that's why I don't really get the second sentence of this verse.
Yes.
Because the second sentence says the physical body acquires sentiency due to the union with the eye sense in the same manner. And I'm a bit confused about that.
What?
The second sentence of the verse here on page 3.
Page 3.
7.
Yeah, on page 2.
Oh, okay. From the verse. Maybe I turned around.
Three is the translation.
See, as I said, that the physical body, there is an intervening factor because awareness is everywhere and sentiency is only where there is what? Where there is subtle body. So we have the tendency to assume that awareness is only where there is what? Subtle body. This is why you make a distinction. Awareness is everywhere. Sentiency is where there is subtle body. But even that sentiency which belongs to subtle body is because of awareness. Without which 5 elements cannot what become sentient. So there are 3 things happening here. There is awareness which is equal everywhere. It is like in your dream world. In your dream world, awareness is where everywhere. But your dream world is divided into what? Sentient and insentient objects. There are people who are sentient and there are rivers and mountains which are what? Insentient. So what accounts for one awareness sometimes becoming what? Alive and sometimes what? Inert. What accounts for that is, in this case, subtle body. But the subtle body itself, where does it derive the capacity to make things alive? Only because of the presence of awareness. Without awareness, you can't have even that subtle body's sentiency.
And not even subtle body.
And not even subtle body. Exactly. Neither you can have subtle body nor you can have sentiency which belongs to subtle body. Both.
Like Gabby is saying, why does it say the physical body is sentient because of union with the eye sense?
Yeah, because there is a subtle body, right? The eye sense, where does it belong?
Subtle body.
In this sukshma. It's sentiency due to the subtle body.
Without Sukshma Sharira, the physical body dies.
Exactly.
With these.
It's union with eye sense. That eye sense is, where is the eye sense? In the sukshma sharira. Now, here, now I think it's enough for now. Okay, we will see the next verse in the next class, which is again, see this author has a different way of explaining everything. So we have to really use the metaphors accurately to make sure that we understand the whole thing correctly. So we will use the metaphors to, he puts the whole thing in his own language so that, when it is explained slightly differently, hopefully it will open up new ways of thinking and new ways of understanding for you. So we will follow his method and we will see how to proceed. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare